Gotta remember.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maris Kreisman, and I'm so thrilled to welcome you tonight to another excellent virtual event at McNally Jackson. If you go to McNallyJackson.com and look at our events calendar, you'll see all the amazing writers and programs we're hosting in the coming weeks. So please keep an eye on the site or subscribe to our newsletter to hear more about what's coming soon. There will be time at the end of tonight's conversation for your questions, so start thinking about them now. You can put all of your questions into the Zoom Q&A and we'll get to them towards the end of the evening. We're glad that even though we can't all be in the same room at the moment, we're still able to host events during this difficult time. As we've weathered the pandemic and reopened all 4 of our locations for browsing and shopping, indie bookstores like ours still need more support. And so if you enjoy free events like this one and want us to keep hosting more of them, please buy books from us. We are so thrilled to have signed copies of Huddle by Brooke Baldwin on sale at McNally Jackson. And throughout the evening, I will post links in the chat to buy one. I am so thrilled to welcome the guests of honor for tonight. Brooke Baldwin is a veteran journalist and Peabody Award finalist who has anchored the 2 to 4 p.m. edition of CNN Newsroom for more than a decade. She has often been sent into the field to cover the biggest breaking stories in the US and around the world. She played a major role in anchoring coverage of the Obama and Trump administrations and has also reported on stories from Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. She joined CNN in 2008, and viewers have come to know her for her versatility, authenticity, and humanity at the news desk. As the creator and host of CNN's digital series, American Woman, she has dedicated the latest chapter of her career to shining a light on trailblazing women in politics and culture. She graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in 2001 with a BA in journalism and Spanish. She lives in Manhattan with her husband, James, and their pug, Pugsley. Huddle is her first book. And joining her this evening is Gayle King, the co-host of CBS This Morning. An accomplished television journalist, King interviews top newsmakers and delivers original reporting to CBS This Morning and CBS News broadcasts and platforms. She's also editor-at-large of the award-winning Oh, the Oprah magazine. King recently began hosting a live weekly radio show titled Gayle King in the House on Sirius XM. CBS This Morning is CBS's most successful morning news broadcast in more than 3 decades. Since joining CBS News in 2011, King has conducted revealing and newsmaking interviews with world leaders, political figures, and celebrities. The mother of a daughter, Kirby, and a son, Will. Yeah. She currently resides in New York City. Welcome to you both. What a thrill.
Yay. Thank you, Maris. Thank you. Maris, that's quite the buildup. Thank you very much. Brooke, did you hear she said we're welcoming you to another fantastic virtual event. So if it doesn't go well, it's on you.
Yeah,
so,
it's totally on me.
Brooke,
it's totally on
Brooke,
me.
Don't screw it up.
Nobody touches Gayle King. It's my bad. It's my bad.
Don't screw it up. I'm sitting here with my read. Look at my notes.
Whoa.
Look at the notes I took.
Whoa. Gayle King does her homework, ladies and gentlemen.
So when I called you today, it's so funny, audience listening to us, I called Brooke and I said, Brooke, let's just touch base before the event tonight, because I want to know, the book is so good. After a while, you know, I found myself, Brooke, taking notes on every page. I go, Gayle, stop it. So I called, audience listening to us now, I called Brooke and said, you know, let's huddle to see what we could. I wanted to make sure if there was something in particular you wanted to hit. And Brooke and I both at the same time said, the chief of police is on in Minneapolis, we got to go. So we didn't get a chance to have a proper huddle, so we're just going to wing it.
Wait, can I just jump in though? And I promise we'll make this about me. But can I just make this about you for just a second? Number one, everyone watching, the fact that Gayle King reads this book, takes the copious notes, puts all the Post-its in the thing, and then goes the extra step of calling me and is asking, I want to make sure this is the best event for you to kick off your week. And that is who you are. And you're just like, you've been in my huddle for a couple of years. I am so honored to have you. And as we sat over pancakes at the Brooklyn Diner, I don't know how many, when we were allowed carbs.
Yeah.
Just thank you. a
I know,
million
Brooke.
times
No, thank you for asking me. No, Brooke, we went to go see Adele together. Remember that?
over.
That is a great experience.
Hello, Steven
But let-
Spielberg,
let-
Bradley Cooper,
I know.
Green Room. That's a whole other conversation and a whole other Zoom.
But let's talk about you, Brooke.
Okay.
Brooke Baldwin, let's talk about you, because
Okay.
normally when people think of a huddle, as you point out in your book, you think men, you think sports, you think it's such a male term.
Yep.
It seems to me that you want to change the whole connotation of that, certainly for women.
Well, I feel like men have been huddling in various shapes and sizes for years and years and years. And women have too, although we tend to do it maybe quietly below the surface. And I think it's time to name it and validate it and legitimize it and give it power. And I purposely use the word huddle, this masculine laced word, because I think it's time for women to flip it on its head, feminize it, and own it.
But this is a thing about you. UNC, go Heels.
Go Heels.
My favorite son, Will, went to Duke's, and I know that's like,
I know. Let's not even go
I
there.
know that's like territory. But he was trying to decide between the two. So we've been to UNC, gorgeous campus.
Yeah.
Everybody that goes there has such a connection. But growing up, you point out, you said you didn't have a huddle growing up. You said the only huddle you had for a white privileged girl, your words, not mine.
My privilege in the prologue, very much.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was you. Were sequins and tap shoes, which I thought was funny. What do you mean?
God. My mom's gonna be watching this and being like, "But you love dancing. What do you mean?" Love you, Mom. No, I when I think of my girlhood, I definitely had huddles very early on, whether it was tap dancing or doing gymnastics or playing soccer badly. And then ultimately it was when I graduated Chapel Hill and really put career first and jumped into journalism and pursuing my dream, did I move to various small towns around the country and did not have a huddle. I was Gayle King. I was very lonely. Not it was me because I was a choice, right? I sacrificed for my career to get to where I am. But I mean, I was very lonely in my 20s and early 30s and was huddle-less.
But I like, though, Brooke, you never gave up. That's what I think is so fascinating. You never gave up, but and I also think this, women are not always so great to each other.
No, we can be the worst.
Oh, I know. I've walked in rooms somewhere with a group of women and I can feel them looking me from head to toe.
Yep.
And not in a very nice way, in a very judgy way, in a
negative
very
energy.
But very negative energy. But you say a gathering of women does not a huddle make.
Yes.
A true huddle is what exactly, in your opinion?
A true huddle is when women can come together and become energized by the mere fact of their coexistence.
Yes.
Right? A huddle can be 2 women, it can be 2,000 women. I wanted my unofficial title of the book, but HarperCollins didn't totally go for it, being Huddle, How Women Get Amazing Shit Done. To me, it can be a productive situation where you do bring about change. It's where we thrive. It's where we succeed. Or it can be a quiet space where we bear witness for one another. Those are all the various shades of huddling.
No, the thing that got me in your book, you said leaning on female friends can get you through anything. And that's so true.
Preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, but then you proceeded to document it, Brooke. I love how you open the book where you go, I remember the story about these female Black judges that, number one, you did a lot of research and a lot of traveling for the book. Good on you.
Thank you.
But you talk about going to see these Black female judges.
Yes.
And the camaraderie among the judges.
Yes.
Seemed to touch you in a way that you were not expecting.
Yeah, I am so moved by, they called themselves Black Girl Magic. It was the Houston 19. There were these 19 women who all won in this unprecedented way in Harris County, Texas. This was back in 2018. And I remember sitting at the news desk, and you know the deal, where there are so many stories in any given day. And because, in the wake of that election, like our cup runneth over. And so we had all of these various stories to cover, and I never got to cover this huddle. And so I filed it away. And in fact, I filed up many, many huddles away. And so my list got very long of people I wanted to interview to just sort of fill my bucket, my soul, my passion for this book. And this group of Houston judges, number one, as you point out, white woman from Atlanta, had a very different existence and still do, obviously, in the way in which I move through the world. And I want to make that clear. And I wanted to make sure that I was beginning this book honoring the ways in which Black women have huddled in this country for centuries, predating slavery, as the Black historian Kimberly Springer you know, really educated me. And to see how these women, how it just came so naturally for them to all run for these judge positions in a race that isn't very sexy. Like, do you remember the last judge you voted for in whatever district you're living in?
I know. When you asked that question, I had to go,
no, it's just not something you really think about or cover. And so here are these 19 Black women not realizing one another was necessarily running. They all win their primaries. They get into this smallish room and they start looking around and they realize, they start counting the faces. And then they decide to huddle. And they huddle through campaigning. They went to a lot of Black churches. They talked to me a lot about how this came naturally to them because they were either members of one of two Black sororities. They talk about how, you know, representation was a huge thing and how young Black girls were coming up to them in Houston because what they did is they got together. It was this brilliant thing. And they took this photo of 19 of them. And it went viral. And that's how it caught on a national level. But not only that, Gayle, and I swear I'll stop like waxing poetic on these Houston judges, is after they won, they are still huddling. I was talking to two of them the other day. They have a whole text chain. And when one of them is on the bench and there's a case, whether it's criminal law or, you know, family and children court, and they're having an issue about a certain code in the law, they will stop the trial. Text the group text chain and call out an SOS and help, you know, be vulnerable, ask for help of these other women and help them walk through that case, the code, and weigh in on where they go next. And ultimately, you know, they're hoping to change the face of the justice system in Harris County, Texas.
I know after I read that book, number one, I love how you give the details of what you all ate. I like that.
Jumping grits, Southern girl, appreciated it.
I love how you had that little detail. And I love how one of them said the secret sauce is awesome, we're awesome. Our secret sauce. I love just claiming that, owning it, and naming it.
Yes.
But, you know, what struck me when I was reading the book is you talk about friendships and you talk about huddling. Sometimes they're the same and sometimes they are not.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a great friendship and a great huddle?
I feel like I want to ask you the same question in reverse, but I think the key with huddling, whether it is friendship, workplace, activism, it's approaching the thing with real intention. It's showing up vulnerably, and it's with a mission of building a bigger table. So for me, as I was lonely and huddleless, really up until the just before the journey to write this book, I didn't get all my good girlfriends together until I was like 39. Shame on me. Like, why did I wait? But I had that aha moment when that happened. And so that was the beginning of my intention of bringing various women together and having a true collective and creating that group text chain that I had never had in my life until I was 40. What? And what these women have brought me, and I mean, especially in the pandemic, where I certainly took the gift of connection for granted and hanging out, as the kids say, IRL, is that there's so much more that is shared that I get from these women, from my huddle. As a result, they have bolstered me through COVID. We have gone there on the racial reckoning in the wake of the George Floyd death last summer, and talking about our roles growing up in the South. My best friend is Japanese, Aki. I love you. And she, of course, you know, we hold space for her, talking about all these awful anti-Asian attacks. Like, nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
That's a huddle, which is different from a friendship, grabbing some drinks with some girls and having a good time.
Yeah.
There's a
I
difference.
love how you talk about Aki's daughter, because she hangs out with you guys too. Yeah. And now it's almost like, I like it too. I used to do that with favorite daughter, Kirby, include her in conversations just because I thought it was important for her to see.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't make them little grown-ups, but it is showing them a way
modeling
of
the
moving in
behavior.
world. Exactly right. There's a great line where you say, when a woman shares her pain out loud, she is summoning her huddle. And you were talking about a woman who had organized, she had the death of a child, and you were talking about when you summon your pain out loud. I thought that was such a really poetic thing to say.
The girl track section.
Yes, you are summoning your huddle. You also, you talk about your mom, and you talk about, you didn't really know about your huddle until you were in your 40s. You tell a really poignant story, Brooke, when I think you were 20 something, maybe 30. Went to your mom. You went to your mom. Your mom apparently has a yellow chair.
The color of my dress. Color of sunshine.
Color of my kitchen. It's my favorite color.
Yep.
But it would have stuck out if you had said a blue chair. But when you said yellow chair, I go, and her mom has a yellow chair. So you go to your mom and you say what? And what does she say to you? I thought this was a very touching scene.
She still has this chair, by the way, and I still go sit in it, and I'm so mindful of this moment. Okay, so let me set the scene. I'm 29. I had moved to Atlanta because I wanted to pursue my dream of becoming a full-time correspondent at CNN. I had worked in various smaller markets in the country, and I was getting this opportunity to be a freelance correspondent. I then happened to move in the middle of the Great Recession of 2008. CNN says to me, essentially, after I've moved my entire life, hey, we love you, we think you're really talented, but we've just frozen all of our opportunities.
Yes.
What? And I end up working overnights, weird hours for various other networks within the building. But I had a moment where, and what does a 29-year-old do when she's not getting paid and she's trying to chase her dream? She moves into her childhood bedroom,
yes,
just across from her parents' bedroom.
But Brooke, it sounded like a nice bedroom, I gotta say.
I mean, it was lovely. It is still very similar to circa 1997. Love you, Mom, but like, come on. So I'm surrounded by all of my cheerleading and shot put photos. And I walk into my mom's room because I'm not a quitter, Gayle. You know me. I don't quit things. I am determined. But I was on the precipice of quitting. It just nothing was working out for me and this whole CNN thing. And I plopped down in this yellow chair and I was just like, whoa, like total mess of tears.
The ugly cry.
It was the ugly cry. And my mom quoted some very cheesy Disney lyrics about something around the river bend. I believe it's from Pocahontas.
Yeah, I was wondering what it was because you said Disney lyrics.
Just around the river bend, that's what it is.
You didn't say which one, okay.
So her point was, don't quit. You are talented. Hold. And I did. But
you came out of that conversation, I thought this was really interesting. You said, I'm talking to my mom, but
why am I talking to my mom?
You go, where's my huddle? Where's my huddle?
I didn't have
sometimes I had a mom like that. When I read about your mom, I thought, God, that's how I think of my mom. Who's interested in every little thing about you.
Yep.
From the mundane to from the smallest to the largest.
Yes.
But you said, but where is my huddle? Where is my huddle?
I'm a 29-year-old woman. I'm having all kinds of issues, work, relationship, like you name it. All the boxes were checked. And I'm sitting there talking to my mother. And I had singular, amazing friends all around the country, including my best friend, Aki, but she was a new mother and she had a career and she was balancing things. And I just didn't. My instinct in that moment was not to turn to my huddle because it didn't exist. And so once I weathered that storm and got through it, right, some months later, was the first time I said to Aki, all right, like you and me, sister, we're taking a really big vacation together. And another one of my girlfriends, we ended up spending more time together. And that's the intention. That's the intention piece of all of this. And so once I started doing that, those were like the early seeds
of huddling,
what would eventually become my huddle.
But what I liked too is that you talked to many different types of huddles. You talked to people in sports, you talked about people in entertainment, you talked to people in politics, and they all seem to have a thread, even though they had different causes and different purposes. They all seem to have a thread throughout them.
The through line for all of these women is that they are huddlers. They subscribe to the abundance mentality. I don't know about you when you were starting out in Baltimore and how other women were outside of your bestie, but I encountered most definitely some sharp elbows.
Yeah.
And I just have learned that through all of this time, just how to lean on, link arms. As Megan Rapinoe famously said, throw down your ladders if you have access to power. I could tell a million Stacey Abrams huddle stories as a result of that. And so this book is for people either who do have that access to power, who can share the wealth, or those who are just coming up. I mean, my God, I wish this book existed when I was just coming out of school and jumping into my career, to just give people at the end of the book this huddle how-to, right? These 10 steps of how to activate a huddle.
You know the question I'm going to ask you when we're not on the air, because you had this break at CNN, a woman who had helped you along the way, and then when you broke and you were really doing well, all of a sudden she turned super cold. I'm like, I want to know that huzzy's name, because my thing is this, Brooke, there's always going to be somebody who's richer, smarter, thinner. And I don't feel it takes anything away from me because they are that.
But you embody everything I'm writing about, but not everyone is like a Gayle King.
But that's why I was so disappointed to hear, instead of someone who was celebrating your success, she did a complete 180 on you. And I just thought, oh, that's so painful and so mean.
I'm sure so many people in their careers, especially as women, and I want to like show her grace all these years later in my head, because she was older than me, and she came along at a time when there were even fewer positions for women than there were for me, that there are for women now. And so she had to have sharp elbows. She was like such a stud with me and so gracious when I was this freelance correspondent.
Yeah.
Threatening, but the second I started rising and then ended up with my own 2-hour show at the ripe age of 31, I was kind of stepping on her turf. But looking back, like that's what so many of these like white male work structures are set up to do. So
I don't know. I was disappointed. I don't know.
I was massively disappointed at the time, because I'm not like that.
Handled it that way, because I just don't think your success takes anything away from me. And as you know, especially in this crazy business, it's their sandbox and they decide who plays. That's just a reality of the situation. And it happens to all of us at some point. And my thing is, when it happens, you know, I just hope that I'll have to remember the words of don't take it personal, that it's business.
So true.
But yeah, let's just hope I can hang on to that. One of my favorite stories was Ava DuVernay.
Oh, do we love Ava?
She's a badass. And I just love the story you told about Ava in the book.
Okay. Ava DuVernay, y'all. Yes. Incredible Black woman filmmaker, director, badass in Hollywood. She is really a unicorn in Hollywood. Hollywood is very white male. And so I was sitting on the set of Queen Sugar, her show, down in New Orleans, and we were talking about how talk about sharing the wealth and being a huddler. Like, she's an OG huddler, because she could direct that whole show in every single episode and like blow herself up, but she chooses to share the wealth with other directors, or women directors and women of color directors, often coming from more of like the indie space. So
she insisted on women directors.
She insisted on it. And now, as I'm watching season 5, they're all still women directors. In fact, this young PA who I had met, her name, she goes by Shooter. I had met Shooter back when I was with Ava. You know, she met her. I mean, I'm going on a whole thing, but the point is, she lifts women. It is like it seems like her mission in life, especially to amplify Black women. And the way she does that in Hollywood is just incredibly unique. And I was saying to her, you know, she would talk about having like going to these big Hollywood parties, and she would literally be the only Black woman director there. And so I said, Ava, you know, why are you sharing the love? And I'll never forget it. She was like, Brooke, I don't want to be at the party alone.
I know. I love that too. I
don't want to be at the party alone. Who says that?
Nobody.
You know, but Ava DuVernay says that, and every single woman. Gayle King says that. Every woman in this book.
And they certainly don't say that in Hollywood. They certainly don't say that in Hollywood. I love that when she goes. I love that too. That stuck out to me. Ding, 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 ding.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
You had so many interesting people. How did you decide who you were going to talk to in the book?
I mean, it was
such a great cross section.
It was semi-self-serving, just people I genuinely was like on the list of, you know, huddles don't always make the headlines. And so these were people who I had like racked up, you know, this list in my head of women I just genuinely fangirled over and respect. So everyone from, you know, Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird, Neko Gumake, Hillary Knight in the sports space, and then this like badass Wasserman sports agent who's like the woman behind the women, Lindsay Colas, and what she's doing in that space, to of course like in the space of gun reform. I mean, I've sat in that chair. You've seen me, like I've sat in that chair so many times. Breaking news, shots fired at a school, and it has broken me. And I've gotten to know so many members of that community who've been touched by gun violence.
Me too.
And I just wanted to honor them and talk to Shannon Watts and now Congresswoman Lucy McBath, who really helped bring Moms Demand Action to the forefront. And they are the largest huddle in America, 6 million strong, and just what they're doing in terms of bringing about gun sense legislation, to, of course, Stacey Abrams in my home state of Georgia, to Reese Witherspoon and her production company, Sunshine in LA.
Hello, Sunshine, yeah.
To Paulette Jordan, who I met on a CNN story, who was running for governor of Idaho, and the whole space of, Indigenous women specifically wanting to work in the climate space and giving nature a voice. Just across the spectrum, I just wanted to tell all these various stories.
But you also said that men can play a role. And
men have to play a role.
Men play a role? Yeah.
I dedicated my book, in addition to my mom, to my husband. And I said something to the effect of, thank you for loving me, and thank you for being one of many good men who support the huddle. And we have to have men who support us, who give us the space to lean on one another and grow, and know that we love our men, but they maybe sometimes aren't everything at all times, and we need to turn, in fact, in the other direction toward the women in our life. And my husband is very aware of that and isn't threatened by it, and that's really important too.
Oh, it's so important, because you also talk about a time that you were engaged. You were with a guy who was a cheater, pumpkin eater.
With the wrong guy.
You were with the wrong guy. You even got engaged to the wrong guy.
I spilled a little tea. I mean, I never.
Even after the cheater, pumpkin eater ways, you said.
All of it. And that all was part of that yellow chair moment where I felt like my personal life was falling apart. My career was falling apart after all these years of being lonely and putting career first. And that's why I was I quit. I didn't say it wasn't there, but yeah.
You shared a lot in the book. I remember when you had COVID, you talked about getting COVID.
You called me the day I tested positive, Gayle King ringing.
And you wrote about that in the book too. Yeah. Brooke, are you fine? You keep hearing about people that get COVID can be long haulers. Are you totally fine?
Lucky. I'm totally fine. I feel so lucky. I feel for those long haulers. I cannot imagine for months having those symptoms. Yep. And
did you get vaccinated? To share that with you got vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. But even vaccinated, I'm still kind of I want more people to be vaccinated.
I know, me too. And I posted a photo of me that my husband took of me over the weekend, just wiped out. I mean, it did wipe me out. And I've I'm no doctor, so I don't know but I feel like some people who've had COVID get knocked out a little bit more with the shot. But let me tell you, for all of you who've had COVID who are well, I don't know about the vaccine, do it. It's 24 hours of ugh. And then
and they actually say, all the doctors say that the ugh part, it's a good thing because it shows that your body is fighting it. But so you went through COVID, but so you've had no residue,
there are certain, this is super TMI, but there are certain things I can't eat anymore, just as a residue from my taste buds changing. Things that I loved, I don't eat, but outside of that, I'm physically great. Knocking on, I feel blessed.
Knocking on your brain. Do you think all women need a huddle?
Listen,
I kind of do.
Do you? Okay. Can you answer first? Because you've read this book and you're a little older and wiser than I am. And I know you have a huddle. I know I tried to get the Gayle King huddle.
I do have a huddle. But I think it's so important to have a huddle. And as you point out, a huddle doesn't have to be ginormous.
No, it doesn't.
The word huddle sounds like it's part of a big group, and it can be, or it cannot be. But I just think every woman needs somebody or something that she can count on and believe.
I totally agree. I mean, I think I only paused because, if somebody is truly enjoys being alone, and that is just how they're pre-programmed, I don't want to push something on anyone. But yes, I mean, I've done all this research. I've been on this whole huddle journey starting in the winter of 2019. And I see the benefits. You look at the Harvard nurses study and how women are literally healthier for having a tight group of women. You look at the Harvard business study from 2019 and how they point to women in C-suites who have a network of women at work are more successful, make more money. And then of course, just the anecdotal evidence in terms of friendships and happiness and serotonin levels and everything else. And I wrote a whole book about it. So yeah, I kind of think people need huddles.
I know, but you'd be surprised, where people say, I'm always leery of people who think I don't need anybody. I am. I'm always leery of that because
or all my friends are guys. I just prefer guys.
I do too. but I'm telling you, the best friendships, the best relationships, I think, come from having a strong support system of women who will lift you up and encourage you. And they do that in ways that men can't, or that men don't understand.
Yes.
It's almost like we have it's not a secret language, but we do have an understanding about how we're wired and what works for us.
Yes.
That's why I think this book is so important, because it shows people that the strength of who we are as women people is very, very solid.
I just wanted to give a name to it. I wanted to give it legitimacy. I wanted to say to women, I see you, I feel you, I agree with you. This is us. This is what we do. Like, let's give it power and name it. That's really what this is about. And I do want women who will, there are a lot of stories of a lot of inspiring women, and I want women at the very end of it, if people are more lonely or don't have a huddle, like this book is still for you, because at the very end, I have this whole, huddle handbook of all these ways you can activate and nurture your own huddle. And then if I may, let me shout out. So in the process of writing this book, this is my first book, and this has been like a wow experience for me.
So now you're an author, Brooke Baldwin.
I'm an author and journalist, yes. And so Kalila Wright, she is born in Jamaica, grew up in Brooklyn, lives in Baltimore. She started this company called Mess in a Bottle. And so if you go to messinabottle.com, you can find these just awesome t-shirts, okay? So I really wanted, you got yours. Yes.
I wore mine this weekend.
Oh, Gayle King, I love you. Kalila is going to.
And it comes in a very cool thing.
This is so cute. This is Mess's whole thing. This is all Kalila. And so I really wanted to collaborate with a Black woman-owned business. And so
read what it says though, Brooke.
It says, huddle to gather, congregate, and lean on your sister circle. And so this was all Kalila. I gave her the book, and she came up with this whole saying. And so if y'all want to, you can buy these. Gayle King got hooked up. But if you want to buy them, you can go to her website today, and we're giving partial proceeds will be donated to Black Girls Vote, a nonpartisan voting organization. You get one
I like that.
bottles. So tonight it's messinabottle.com. Kalila, thank you so much for collaborating with me.
Black Girls Vote. I like that.
Yeah.
You talked too, it seems like the genesis of the book really started after the Trump inauguration. The very next day you went to the Women's March.
Yeah.
And you said you had never seen so many women gathered in one place at one time. And that also had a big impact on you. I
think it altered the course of the rest of my life. I think that those 48 hours was such an emotional whiplash between, yes, I'd covered the 2016 presidential election, but there I was on a Saturday for the Trump inauguration, balancing on the back of this flatbed truck, embedded in the motorcade, talking live as we're going down Constitution, as then newly elected President Trump and Melania were getting out and walking along, and being very mindful as a journalist and also as a woman, where he said he liked to grab women. That video had come out very recently, and I was as a woman standing there thinking of the next 4 years, I was troubled. And then the very next day, I'm again on the clock as a journalist, covering the Women's March, surrounded by 500,000 women. Backstage.
What did you think it was going to be like, Brooke? Because it really did seem like you had an epiphany there. What did you think?
I had my Oprah aha.
You knew it was going to be a big group of women, and you knew what they were coming for.
I did, but don't you remember way back when people weren't totally sure how many people would show up? True. I remember talking to my bosses here at CNN, and they were like, we want to send you, it could be a couple thousand, we don't totally know. And I was like, I'm game, raising my hand, send me. No, I did not know it would be 500,000 women. And to see, like, standing backstage and watching, Tamika Mallory and Gloria Steinem and, America Ferrera and all these, like, Madonna, all these Cher, like whipping past me but it was the extraordinary, ordinary women who were there, who shared their tanks of gas and had huddles. And so I covered it as a journalist, but then I had my moment of, oh my God, like, do I have a huddle? Would I have women who would share a tank of gas or stand in like wickedly long porta potty lines?
Who had gotten on a bus and traveled?
No, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
No, and I made it my mission to dedicate the next chapter of my career to women after I left Washington that weekend, which led to this series, American Woman, which on the poster over my shoulder, which I think of every day, which was really the unofficial beginning of writing this book.
I was looking at my notes for the Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem says there are 3 things that are a source of women's progress. Do you remember? Hi, Maris.
Hi,
Maris.
Take your time.
Okay, we'll just finish
chosen family.
Do you remember what she says? She says
chosen family.
I love the chosen family. Yeah. Friendship, chosen family. I love that part. Because you communicated with Gloria Steinem while writing this book.
I did. And at first she sort of thought like her whole thing is about having like her huddle, her women group is her chosen family.
Yes.
And at first, when she heard the word huddle, she just didn't know if it really like embraced all the notion of chosen family. And then in the book, I wrote something about, well, this is Gloria effing Steinem, and I'm going to listen to
And I love how she said it to you too. She said, if I may,
But then how Gloria described her notion of this is exactly what I'm describing as a huddle.
But a chosen family, I love it. And I'll just end on this before Maris gives us the questions. Military spouses. I love that you singled out military spouses in particular. You said because they are a special kind of huddle, they can give you a master class in friendships. That got to me.
They can, just because of geography and circumstance. They have had to move so many times. They have known how to virtually huddle way before virtually huddling was cool in the pandemic. And we have a lot we can learn from them.
I love that. Hello, Maris. Hello,
Maris.
Hello. Thank you both for such a wonderful discussion. And we've been having a fun little discussion in the chat as well. There are a lot of people in the audience who are really inspired. So thank you. And I have a bunch of questions for you. From Kevin McDonald. Brooke, you've always been a champion of women's rights and collaboration, but specifically, what was your true drive or motivation that pushed you to start writing this book?
It really felt like a calling. It felt like the natural progression from my digital series, American Woman, but I wanted to look at everything, not through the lens of singular trailblazing women, but through the lens of huddles. I just started noticing groups of women, collectives of women bringing about change. And of course, this is all after Time's Up and Me Too and all the women running for office in 2018. And I just thought, has this really been done before? Really examining collectives of women and telling their stories. And so that's really how it all came about. And now I see everything, like my family, my friends, everyone's, I see they laugh at me. They appreciate me, obviously, but they laugh at me a little bit because I see everything through the lens of a huddle now.
Andy Kimball asks, are your huddles formed from any of your friends from way back in your life that you've reconnected with? I think maybe overall we want to know just a little bit more about the makeup of your own huddle.
Sure. So I now have a couple of huddles. My primary huddle, my 3 ladies, all of whom I go way back 20 plus years. I have stayed in great contact with 2 of them. The third was even though she was part of my way back life, we only really reconnected 10 plus years ago. And so that's my one really.
Hey, their names, because I didn't know if it was Aki or Aki.
It's Aki, Japanese, Aki Kamayama. Martin.
And then you have 2 more. There were 2.
And then Allison and KB, Catherine. And so the 4 of us form this tight friend huddle, and we live all over the country. but we are constantly texting and in touch. And if I haven't heard from these women during the day, I'm like, all right, SOS, roll call, like what's going on? What's going on today? So that's one major huddle. And then another huddle, of course, is the ladies here at CNN. I have, there are women here, some of whom are older, wiser, who I go to with help and needing advice. And then a number of them are younger with whom I am throwing down my ladder to them. In the before times when people were in the office and people would roll into my office, I would make it very clear that I keep my office door open. And so I have a whole women huddle here at CNN. And then I have a wellness huddle, which I've only really leaned into massively in the last year and a half. I do this thing called The Class here in New York City.
Talk about that class where you went. Yes.
Gayle, have you ever done the class? Do you know about this?
No, I haven't, but I was reading about it. Wow.
We need to get sweaty together.
Yeah, I like how you described it.
The class is a really special,
very soothing, but it also sounds like a good workout.
Totally. It's both. It's like the gym and church and therapy in 65 minutes with killer music. So I have my wellness huddle, which involves a lot of those women, which will be moving on Saturday, collaboration with the Class and Huddle, Saturday, 10 a.m. So check my website, huddlethebook.com, if y'all want in on that.
What do you mean on Saturday? What do you mean?
So on Saturday, the class is doing a special class collaboration with me and all of the folks who pre-ordered the book. Although if you tell them I sent you and you haven't pre-ordered it, but you're ordering it right now with McNally Jackson, like we'll get you in. And so it's a special one-time only live event. And then they were like, Brooke, do you want to come into the studio and do all the working out in front of several hundred people? And I said, okay. So I will be there alongside the instructor, sweating my you-know-what off. And I really hope you join us. So buy a book through.
Wasn't her name Taryn? Was it Taryn?
Taryn Toomey.
Yeah.
Taryn Toomey.
Yeah.
Brooke, a lot of people in the Q&A and on McNally Jackson's Twitter and in the world, I think, would like to know what's next post CNN.
Yes. What is next? I was so inspired by this book and surrounding myself with these women. They became part of my life. And I, in the end, decided that I could not share space with them and be the bravest version of myself. So I am doing the backflip off the high dive and leaving a place that I have become very comfortable and that I love, and this privileged platform that I've held on to for over a decade, to go do, I don't totally know yet. I am hoping to dive into the deep end of storytelling. I am going to be pitching some streaming networks. I think there is like a dearth of,
Brooke, I don't believe you don't know yet, just saying.
Okay, I appreciate that, Gayle. Noted. We'll be texting later. I would love to host an unscripted doc series. I'd love to be in the doc space with some of these streaming networks. I think I have like some gifts to give there. And your pal, Gayle King, Ellen DeGeneres, her team called me up a couple weeks ago and had me guest host on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And it was like bucket list level stuff.
When did you do that? Did it air already?
It aired already. Thanks for watching.
Oh my God. I didn't know you were doing it. Oh,
I'll send you the link. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's not like you don't have a whole life and like amazing things happening, but it was.
Brooke, that's great. That's great.
It was great. It was a couple Fridays ago. They flew me out to LA and I got like COVID tested up every 5 seconds. So we were super safe.
Oh,
but it was.
I'll bet you were great at it too. Oh, wow.
Thank you. It was a moment. So I'm interested in just that space.
Was that from the time when you were on her show and they saw, oh, she's good. Yay. Oh, that makes me so happy.
It was incredible.
I didn't know that.
So if you know anyone who hosted a talk show for forever who wants to give me some tips, I'm all ears.
Are you interested I could so see you in the doc streaming space.
Thank you. I just think that there's so many stories to be told, and like I'm a forever journalist. All I want to do is meet people. I'm such a curious soul, and interviewing people and just have like a little bit more space to be able to do that,
Wow.
to really really sit with somebody for like longer interviews and share their stories in a longer space of time would be
Oh
a
gosh,
dream.
you'd be great. Please send me the link.
Netflix, Discovery Plus,
Yeah.
all of you. Yeah.
Netflix, HBO Max,
Right.
Paramount Plus. You got lots to choose from. Apple.
They'll choose me. They'll choose me.
That's great, Brooke. Put it out there.
I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there. Those are my dreams.
There are a lot of congratulations for you in the chat. And so I will just add my voice to that list and to thank you both, Gayle and Brooke, for a really lovely and inspiring evening.
Well, thank you for having us, Maris. Thank you. How did Brooke
McNally
do?
Jackson.
How did Brooke, the author, do? Brooke, I'm so excited that you're an author. Oh my God.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on your show. Let's mention CBS This Morning, this Wednesday.
Oh,
if you
yes,
like
yes,
this,
yes.
wake up early and have some coffee with us, 8:30 in the
yes,
morning
yes.
Eastern time on Wednesday. So I can't wait to be part of that.
I'll bring
Thank
my
you.
copy of the book. All right.
Bring it. Make the
All
guys
right.
jealous with all the tabs.
I'll see you guys.
Thanks everyone watching.
Brooke,
If you want to sign
congratulations.
copies,
Brooke, congratulations.
thanks,
Bye,
Gayle, I
audience.
love you.
Hey, Brooke, tonight is the NCAA finals. Are you going to watch?
I mean, I'm sad about my Tar Heels.
Oh, but the game was so good the other night. Oh my! And Roy Williams is retiring, as you know.
I do
The
know.
nicest man. The
Legend.
nicest man.
The nicest.
Yes. All right.
McNally Jackson. Thank you all. If you want
Bye,
to ever sign
Maris.
copies, right, Maris, go to McNally
Bye,
Jackson.
audience who's cheering for Brooke. All right, Brooke.
Yay!
Here's to good book sales.
Bye.